Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is a short interaction that I have had the pleasure of sharing with you some of the insights in doing business with minimal funds or practically no funds. When I was asked to speak on this topic, I was kind of thinking, what would be the best method of getting this message across? That it is doable, it is possible. How could I substantiate it with examples or stories that you could relate and get empowered and enriched, that you can really start on this beautiful journey of doing business, provided we understand the foundations correctly. I would like to bring the summary up front about the three aspects of business that I would like you to keep in mind. The first point is, business is not about making money. You may disagree with me, but I emphasize on this fact that indeed business is not about making money. It's a very myopic and a short-sighted view of business. You may ask, then what is business? Business is all about spreading happiness. The money is the return that you receive when you invest in happiness for someone else. The more the number of customers who have interacted with your business or your company, the more the return, and more difficult it is for competition to actually take the customers away from you. A bond is established. The second point of business, the starting point of a business is a vision. A vision that you and your customers who are afflicted with pain or looking for a dream to be fulfilled is co-created. In other words, your vision and their vision overlap. And this vision then is converted into reality. So the second point is about a common vision. The third point of business is that a model that I will share with you, which I will call it seeking to serve. A framework based on the examples that I would share with you. So the three aspects of the business foundations are: A, it's not about money. Number two, it's about having a joint vision. And number three is, it's about seeking to serve. This is the only way a business is sustainable. Now, whether we require money for this, the answer is the funding required is minimal or practically nothing, as I would explain to you with the help of three hypothetical examples. But before getting into those examples, which will give you a common framework, I would like to emphasize a few points. Number one is, each one of us is gifted when we are created. That means there is a talent in us. This talent is hidden. Once you identify what the gift you have received, then pursue the path, because this is honoring the one who gave you the gift. Once you realize the gift and you start discovering that this is indeed your talent, then you start speaking from your heart. There is a passion with which you live life. And this passion is then spread to others who wish to interact with you. So this talent is very, very critical, that each one of us is gifted. So we need not follow others what they are good at, which you find it difficult. But always remember, you have talent. Another point that I would like to emphasize is there are 4 tools that you should constantly use as you travel this journey of life or business, both of which have common relationship. Traveling a distance or a journey, which is a business or life, from time to time, pause. Pause whether the route or the road that you're taking to fulfill your dream is indeed the right road or not. The pace at which you're moving towards the dream, is it the right pace? Pause always. Following pause, then you ponder. When you ponder, you're getting an idea that what are the obstacles that lie en route the dream that you are planning to fulfill. Do you have the skills to overcome those obstacles? Is there an alternate route that I can take to achieve the same dream? So pause and ponder help us doing a reality check from time to time. The third is reflect. When you reflect, you are looking at all the knowledge that you already have and all the skills or expertise that you have garnered by applying this knowledge. So the inventory of knowledge and expertise helps us extract learnings from the journey that we have already covered. What learning are we talking about? The learning is, given another opportunity to trek the same path, what would I do differently? This is a vital aspect of reflection. To be a perfectionist, given another opportunity, what will I do differently, is always working towards living a life that whatever I did yesterday, I could have still improved upon it. This hunger for improvisation always helps us when we reflect. And the last button is refresh or reset. So when you pause, ponder and reflect, when you refresh, there's a renewed passion, a renewed energy towards the journey to fulfill the dream once again. So these are a couple of things that I would like to leave with you when we talk about. So to summarize, the 3 aspects of business, it's not about money. We need to have a common vision. And the third one is that we need to have a model, a framework in place to convert this vision into a reality, which I will use with the 3 hypothetical examples that I will share with you. The second is, each one of us are talented, and this talent is hidden within us. This talent is a gift that we have received from the Creator. The only way we can return this honor is to spend time with ourselves and identify the gift so that we tread on this path of life, which is just a short journey of 30,000 days, with renewed vigor to spread happiness. This passion or the fire that you have is primarily because of the gift that you have been bestowed with. Many of us do not want to understand this reality of life. It's only when you are actually thrown into the sea and you want to survive that you start looking at, how do I do it? So we all have the ability to deliver results. It's only that somewhere along a journey, someone has told us that we are not fit. We cannot do it. This pessimism has actually reduced our motivation levels. And you need to get out of this to venture into it with greater zeal, greater determination. So let's look at the first example, which I would like to share, this framework about business. Once again, to all the viewers who are going to understand this framework, I'm far away, located in Bangalore, and there has been a 30-day lockdown. And this lockdown of the country, the city, varies from people to people and age to age. The more senior you are in age, you are actually locked in. That means your mobility is indeed restricted more. So indeed overlook and ignore my presentation in terms of my makeup because I can't access a haircutting saloon. So please ignore all this as I speak to you and share with you my own journey with these examples. 2 decades ago, when I was heading the marketing function of a well-known company, I decided to submit my resignation. It was a very, very, very difficult call to make. When I did submit the resignation, there were lots of unsolicited advice from people. Where will you get a job like this? What will you do? How will you take care of the family? Lots of unsolicited advice which actually make you rethink and ponder whether the step that you're going to take is the right one or not. But I paused, I pondered, I reflected, and then I got the realization dawn before I set out on this new journey. When I paused and pondered, I realized that I had not spent time with the family at all. Our only son was only 9 years old. My wife was doing both the roles. I was hardly at home, traveling. Even if physically I was at home, I was thinking about those targets, those responsibilities. When I paused and pondered, I realized life is just go away, and I would have not contributed anything to my son's growth, nor shared the burden of my wife to bring about a child into this earth and endow him with the enough to discover his talent. I submitted my resignation and I had to start the journey all over again. When you start the journey all over again, I had to surrender all the perks. All the perks in terms of the house, the car, the phone, and the various facilities that you are given when you head the marketing function. You have to pay rent now, since we don't have a roof overhead. So I solicited the advice of 2 elders whom I very closely admire. One of them was a businessman, distantly related to my wife, and the other was the director of a management institute, a premier management institute. Both of them I met. The businessman was not a successful businessman. The business was running at a great loss. There was no control on the employees. There was no dashboard. But what I liked about him was his honesty, his righteous path that he has chosen. The core values impressed me a lot. Likewise, the director of the Management Institute. Again, the core values. When I spoke to both of them and they granted me time, what came out of this meeting was a beautiful example. They said, when you fall from a tree, you don't fall straight to the ground. There are lots of branches in between. So you won't come back to ground zero. But yes, it's going to be a steep climb. You need to be prepared for it. And you have to work hard and pursue the dream. I was reinvigorated with those words that I will not be actually falling down to the ground. But what emanated from this was a new journey, a difficult one, because you knock at the doors of the companies to sell your idea, you're made to wait at the reception, the security guard doesn't recognize you. Those very friends whom you knew don't give appointments because your business card doesn't have any pull. No one wants to spend time with one who's not established. It is at that point in time I wrote. When the world slept, I was working. I wrote and wrote, I wrote. But what was the greatest happiness was I could spend time playing badminton in the evening with the family, taking my son to school and coming back, talking to him. And that made me think that I can do it with no money because there was hardly any savings with me. 18 years of work, the rupee's depreciation and the inflation, and to start paying rental and dipping into the reserves made life a bit more difficult, that I need to work and work and work, but at my pace, and I need to keep myself very motivated. When I look back 20 years later, that was the best decision of my life. I have never been so busy in the last 2 decades like I was. Busy in a good way. Busy enjoying life. Busy to the time of spreading joy to others. I was teaching. I was training corporates in India and in select other countries. I was working hands-off for multiple companies. And yet I could spend time whenever I want, on whatever occasions it was. Everything was within me. And that's what I'm going to share with you about the model of business. At the end of this talk, if any one of you feel that you have an idea and you think that you want to fulfill this, go ahead and do it. We'll talk. But don't let ideas die. You can use me as a sounding board. But can you do the impossible? The answer is yes. But the framework has to be followed. It should not be an emotional decision of this idea will work. So I will compare some of the examples with the traditional business approach and the business approach that I am proposing, which doesn't require money. You don't require money to dream. But if you don't have a dream, if you don't have a vision, and you don't have the uncanny hunger and a passion to convert that dream into a reality within a certain time frame, then life is not worth living the way that we are supposed to have lived. Because you'll always say, I wish I had done this, I wish, because you're constantly comparing yourself. But you cannot compare because you're talented differently. And this talent, I repeat, is hidden. And the Creator has asked us to seek. Once you seek, then life turns 360 degrees for you. Because you are on fire. You have a passion with which you're going to pursue this dream. So let's straight away get into the first example, a hypothetical one, devoid of any jargons taught in management schools, but I've just made a story. So here's a large apartment complex, maybe 200 apartments. And there's a lot of children staying in these apartments, little kids I'm talking about. Maybe they're studying in the 2nd standard or 3rd standard. And there's this uncle who comes in the evening at around 5 o'clock to watch all these children play with joy in their face, the little bit of discussions and debates they have. But there's a lot of happening on the playground, and he wants to be a part of it, not playing, but watching them. He could not do it when he was working. His life was different. The children were aware of this uncle every evening, watching them. One day, one child asked this uncle whether she could ask him a question, and the uncle said, why don't you ask? She said, why is 5 plus 5 equal to 10? And why is 5 minus 5 equal to 0? Thinking aloud, she said, I fail to understand how 5 into 5 becomes 25 and how 5 divided by 5 becomes 1. All the other children from different schools who are staying in the same apartment were eagerly looking at the uncle as to what he would answer. The uncle said, did you ask your teacher? All the children looked at each other and said that we did. He said, what did the teacher say? The teacher said, this is given. You need to know it. In other words, we need to memorize. To every question of ours, if we memorize, where are we going to head towards? Asked the child and the children. Uncle said, is it possible for me to borrow one of your books? One of the child fetched the textbook of the class, and uncle went back to his apartment. That evening, he took a notebook and a pen, read the chapter, and made cartoon characters, and embarked on a beautiful journey of developing a story on 5s. The next evening, he was there at the playground only to return the book and told the children, on Saturday we will meet after the games are over and we'll discuss about 5. The children agreed, and on Saturday they were all ready to hear the uncle speak about the 5s. The uncle weaved one story after the other with characters of cartoon that they could relate to. They were all laughing and laughing and laughing. They understood everything where the uncle gave reason after reason why 5 plus 5 is equal to 10 and why 5 minus 5 becomes 0. The children were so empowered and enlightened that when uncle said, have you all understood? And they all said with a lot of gusto, yes, uncle. He said, then we can part. Soon as he said that, there was silence. One child raised his hand and said, I have a question to ask you about geography. Can you help? Likewise, all the other children started asking questions to the uncle about various topics. He collected those books. He developed stories, concepts. These children, when they returned to the apartment complex, were filled with joy as they narrated the story, what the uncle said about 5 plus 5. The parents were so thrilled to see the children's joy, enjoying studies after a good game of play. These children, when they went to their respective schools, told their children, to their friends, what this uncle was all about. And they said, can we also come to your apartment complex? The children said, we have to ask uncle because this Saturday our parents wants to attend a session of the uncle. So the parents were glued to the uncle's storytelling capability and the linkages he established with the topic, which a young mind could understand and grapple with such great perfection that the parents were so happy with the uncle that they went and told the principals of the different schools. Uncle was invited to the schools to give a talk to children. Now look at this story that is developing. Children impacts parents. Children impacting their friends in the classroom. Parents impacting the principals of the various schools. Uncle is now going to start a business when principal says, is it possible to do an online model framework to teach children on the various subjects, please? Uncle comes back and says, let me identify people because I don't have money. So our uncle identifies a storyteller, a maths teacher, a geography teacher, an IT person who can develop a platform. Each one of them are domain experts. Each one of them share one thing in common, a dream to spread happiness to these young minds. A business has started. This business is now taken across shores, across countries. Because in today's world, you cannot be bound by a geography. The world is the marketplace. And if you're talented, which you are, if you're gifted, which you are, and if you don't have money, still the world will beat a path to meet you. Because you're visible. You are driven by passion. Age is no bar. What is barring you is you yourself, your mind. Therefore, collaborate. Collaborate with people who have like-minded vision. This is the sum and substance of the first story, which we will convert it into the framework, which is third step of the business model that I said. The first is business doesn't require money, but it requires a vision. Where did this vision come from? How did it happen? We will look at fitting these steps in the framework, but do not forget the story of the fives as we embark on the next story quickly. Having gone through the first set of example, we go to the second set of an example, which I would help you identify the difference between the traditional model of doing business and this new model of business before I develop the framework for you. So here is the story of an auto rickshaw driver. Let's call him Shyam Sundar. Shyam Sundar wanted quick money. Which business will give him quick money on a regular basis, day after day after day, was his thought process. He knew how to ride a scooter. He knew how to ride an auto rickshaw. So he thought the best is that whatever I know, whatever I do, let me do it, and that will fetch me money. So he goes to the bank, pledges his wife's jewelry, buys a brand new auto rickshaw. So he's already borrowed money. He brings the auto rickshaw back home to the delight of his wife and his children. And then from tomorrow onwards, his dream is about money. Money, money, money. Borrowed money to get money. With that in mind, he decides which is the best place that he will get consistent customer flow. He doesn't have to wait long enough there to get orders. He thinks there is a place where long distance buses come in the morning. If I go and park my auto rickshaw there, I certainly will get customers. So with that in mind, he goes to a place where early morning, lots of buses come from Hyderabad. Are trying to get down, and he notices a couple of things. One, lots of other auto rickshaw drivers, which is called competition here. They are also looking at the bus. You are also looking. So the competition and you are looking at the same customers. The competition was speaking to all the customers, talking to them, wishing them, but in the local language. Shyam Sundar said, let me try English. So this is the point of differentiation. So he wishes by targeting his communication to a few people who look like that they knew English very well. So one of the lady, she said, yes, I'm coming down. I will hire your services. She comes down, follows Shamsundar, who doesn't help him with her luggage, gets onto the auto rickshaw. She places her luggage next to her and then tells her where she wants to go. An auto rickshaw driver starts towards the destination. During the drive, the auto rickshaw driver asks a number of questions. Is this your first visit to the city? Who are you going to meet? Are they your parents or relatives? How frequently do you come? And so on and so forth. All business, we need our information about customers. But the way to collect information has to be there. She was uncomfortable with those questions. She didn't answer. She asked Shamsundar, why aren't you switching on the meter? Shamsundar said, in this early morning, no one runs on meter. That disappointed her a lot. When the destination arrived, she asked how much is the fare? And he quoted a fare which was astronomical by all standards. She was very unhappy. As she alighted, not to make a scene, she paid the money and she went. The next week, she again came to Bangalore from Hyderabad. All the auto rickshaw drivers are screaming and shouting to get attention of the passengers. She's looking at all the auto rickshaw drivers, but not nodding. Because in her mind, she is looking at the bad experience that she has had, that she was exploited. She paid an amount which no business would actually do and should do to exploit the person's lack of knowledge of a city. As she came down, Shamsundar noticed her and he was very confident that she will approach him. She didn't. She looked at him but ignored. He wished her good morning. Can I take you to the same place? She said, no, my car is coming. There was no car coming at all. All the pestering auto rickshaw drivers left her. Meanwhile, another bus came and they were left to attend to that bus. She was all by herself. She noticed at a distance of 100 meters there was another auto rickshaw parked. The machine looked decent. She slowly walked towards the auto rickshaw driver. The auto rickshaw driver who was sitting in the auto rickshaw noticed her, got up from his seat and wished her and said, good morning, ma'am. She said she wanted to go to this particular place. And he said he was willing to take her, helped her with the luggage, started the meter, and without any conversation, took her to the destination. Let's call this auto rickshaw driver's name as Nagesh. As she got off the auto rickshaw, she asked Nagesh, how much is the amount? She said, the meter is 20 rupees 50 paisa. She gave 25 and said, you can keep the rest. Nagesh said, no, my policy is the meter is the final price. Here is the change. The passenger was taken aback. And she asked, do you normally stand there in the morning? He said, no, I had just finished a duty, so I was waiting there in case there were some customers, then I would help them. Nagesh asked, is there any particular reason that you asked me? He said, no, I come every week, so if you're there the next week, it would be helpful. Nagesh gave the lady his contact details and said he would be there. She called Nagesh a day before. Nagesh was there. The journey continued. Weeks later, months later, Nagesh was flooded with calls from strangers that they are coming to the city and they want him to do the duty. Nagesh doesn't leave home. His day is packed with orders. Everyone wants his service only. Many a time he declines because he's booked. So people give him notices in a weeks in advance, month in advance. Nagesh is popular. Nagesh decides that he should look at expanding the business. So let's look at what made Nagesh get into this business and how does he do business differently so that you get to understand the framework. Nagesh was asked, why did you become an auto rickshaw driver? So he says, I was working in an auto rickshaw repair shop. So I know everything about an auto rickshaw. So once I repair the auto rickshaw, I have to do trial runs and then hand over the auto rickshaw to the driver. When I come back home and I meet people, many of them complain about how auto rickshaw drivers have been rude, have always been overcharging, irrespective of the time of the day, take different routes. So it's become a very big pain to take an auto rickshaw. Seeing the customer's pain, he looked at that he has the knowledge of riding an auto rickshaw, but he doesn't have money. So he looks to hire an auto rickshaw for a day, hires an auto rickshaw, and that gives him an experience of how much he earns and how much did it cost him in terms of fuel. The next day again he hired. Seeing the customer's joy made him much more motivated, and with great passion he started working longer hours. More and more customers giving him feedback in terms of their happiness, not verbally, but non-verbally you can see the expression, and then followed by these orders that are flowing in onto the telephone. 6 months later, repeat doing of this job on rental, he has ample money now to buy an auto rickshaw. He buys an auto rickshaw. The same story unfolds. Lots of orders, overbooking. Nagesh decides to invest in a new auto rickshaw. So 1 becomes 2. He hires an auto rickshaw driver, trains him. They both have uniforms. There is a logo now on the auto rickshaw. People can identify it as Nagesh's auto rickshaw from a distance. Story continues. 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 3. The standard operating procedures are laid down in a document. And what Nagesh is very particular with every auto rickshaw driver belonging to his company is that A, they will wish, they'll be extremely polite, they have to carry the change, they have to be helpful to the customers, and no overcharging whatsoever. With these identifications of differentiation, Nagesh's business is booming across the 4 parts of Bangalore. North Bangalore having a set of autos, south, east and west. All are on telephone bookings. So you have a tele-salesperson accepting calls, booking and slotting schedules and times. Everything is going smoothly. One day the auto rickshaw driver Nagesh is approached by some parents who narrate the tale of their children being picked up from school and being dropped. They insist that Nagesh should get into this business. Nagesh said he doesn't have money because all the money that he has, he's reinvesting in the business, and all this time everything is going smooth. If he overexpands, he will be overstretched. The quality of the business will come down, and therefore he doesn't want to invest money in this. The parents come and meet Nagesh and said, we will buy the auto rickshaw. You don't have to pay us. We will decide when the payment has to be made. All that you have to do is help us out. We are worried about our children who are studying in kindergarten. Looking at the pain of these parents, Nagesh says, look, taking this service to a new market, which is the kids market, requires modification of the auto rickshaw. I have to work with a designer. I will not carry more than 3 kids. And these 3 kids will have separate compartments, and seat belts has to be there to fasten them. I want in the same auto rickshaw a monitor that they can watch the cartoons or some study material that engages them. Then I need to have a governor so that the auto rickshaw cannot go beyond a certain speed. When the parents listened to his dream of removing the pain of these parents, making the children safe, they all said, please invest. Just tell us the amount, we will do it. Nagesh's service is now demanded by schools. School principals are calling. They will invest in the auto rickshaw. Nagesh is now CEO of a company. His job is to recruit, select, train auto rickshaw drivers. And then in each auto rickshaw, there is a camera. He's invested in technology. He can trace and track where the auto rickshaw is at what point in time. There are emergency numbers where the children or anyone can actually call Nagesh directly. The business model is being reinvented to keep competition at bay. One day, looking at the market from outside his window, he saw an elderly couple struggling to get into an auto rickshaw. The auto rickshaw driver was not willing to help. The elderly gentleman's stick had to be kept. The wheelchair had to be kept. And with a lot of difficulty, they both boarded. They were going to the hospital. Nagesh decided to study this market of the elderly. When he researched and found out from these elderly couples, they said, it's a pain to go and meet the doctor. Finding an auto rickshaw in the morning, then when the doctor meets and we all go through the test, finding an auto rickshaw back, and then there is no fixed rates, there's no helping hand. Nagesh decides to venture into this market, all with a passion of removing this pain. He designs a new auto rickshaw where these aids of sticks, wheelchairs can be accommodated. He puts a small place where mineral water bottles are kept. And then he offers a service which is not for drop, but a combined drop and pick up. The auto rickshaw will wait. They have to do bookings in advance, that's all. So there are 3 markets where Nagesh's services are now there. Look at his business model, which is expanding. He starts with a market for long distance buses, people who are new to the city, and gives them a joy that we are different. We will not cheat you. We are here for you. All newcomers who come, they know who is the best person to contact. Nagesh gets into different businesses, not anymore, because everyone trusts him. The trust factor helps Nagesh to explore other businesses which he is not good at, but he assembles the right group of people who have the same vision and the dream. So look at these 3 examples. The first example was about the uncle. The second was a traditional business of borrowing money to make money. And the third one was again an auto rickshaw driver who differentiates himself, positions himself in the mind of those customers on the very pain points and removes it. And then adds on advantages so that the business sustains itself. Money starts flowing in. Look at this new model of business. And therefore, let's come to the last part of it. What is this business? So let's look at the summary of the business which we started off with. The first, business was never of making money. Then what was it? We said it is all about serving others and bringing joy to them. Money will come. They will reciprocate their happiness with compensations. But they want you to do other businesses too, which they are being impacted upon day in and day out. So this was first principle. Not money. You can start business with no money. But the pain that they are being afflicted should match with the strength that you possess. That means you are an expert in that. But being an expert has no meaning. Do you have a passion? Do you have an inkling to remove their pain? Are you actually on the same page with them that you will remove that? Or are you looking for the reward first before even the pain is removed? So the second part of the business is both your visions have to be common. The customer is wanting that your business should agree with their vision too. When both of you share the same vision and you fulfill that vision, business has to grow. From a startup to the growth stage of the business, the customer is the driver, not you. You don't drive the business. It's the customers who drive your business. Give the keys to them. They will drive the car. And therefore, it's a very easy concept. It's nothing new about it. So we embark on the third stage of the business, which is to give you a framework and share with you what the seek to serve model is all about, considering the fact of these three examples that I narrated. Remember, all these three are hypothetical examples. There was no uncle, there was no Shamsundar, and there is no Nagesh. They are hypothetical examples knitted together to draw this framework and help you understand that it is a wrong notion that I don't have to have money. But introspect and identify the gift that you have. That gift, combined with knowledge and expertise, will actually light you up completely, and you'll spread that light to all the others whose world has been in darkness. Imagine a company where everyone is lit up. Customers would like to engage with such companies. They want their lives also be lit up. That's why the second step of business was your vision and their vision has to be the same. It cannot be you and you alone. Once they are given the full power to run the business, your business is going to go places. So answer is to empower the people who do not have power. Empower them, enrich their lives. And now that we have shared the three examples, let's build a framework. So what's the first step that we look at when we develop a business? So let's look at the first example. The children shared the pain with the uncle. That's the first step. The children themselves shared. Sometimes you identify the pain of the customer. Sometimes the customer shares the pain. The second step is to figure out whether you have the capability, the knowledge plus the expertise to remove that pain or help them fulfill the dream that they are looking for. That's the second step. The third step is to share this vision to get their agreement that this is indeed what they're looking for. So uncle decided to work on it, meet up with them, and test the story, the cartoon characters to help them understand why 5 plus 5 is equal to 10. Nagesh did it likewise. ride the scooter or auto rickshaw, develop the business completely different than what is being done. He doesn't invest. Both of them never had money. Whereas Nagesh invested minimal funds, uncle had no funds whatsoever. But both of them understood the talent and the gift that they had, the capability that they possessed over the journey that they have embarked, and said, this sounds interesting, I can do it. So you share the vision, the children are happy. You actually led the customers differently than other auto rickshaw drivers in the Nagesh's case. So the third step was you share the vision. The fourth is you take them on this journey. They experience it. And the experience results in the fourth step of joy. And that joy is not containable. They spread the joy. So this is the sequence which is converted into a framework. The title of this framework is what is called Seek to Serve. The Seek to Serve model, I have put an acronym called SALES, S-A-L-E-S. S will stand for seeking only those customers. That means your business will not be for every single customer. You will choose customers. So you seek only those customers who are afflicted with pain or they have a dream that they wish to fulfill. So the first step is seeking. From the sales acronym, I will draw the first letter S and say, seek those customers who are afflicted by pain.